Namaste, 10th standard students. Today we will discuss the questions and answers of the poem The Stollen Poet written by William Wordsworth. In this poem, the poet has revealed his past, one incident where he untied a boat which was moved to a willow tree and took it for jolly ride. He was like when he was riding the boat on that lake, he was happy. It was mixed feelings. It was of pleasure and of anxiety. But later, it was the guilty consciousness in himself about that he had stolen the boat. He felt that nature is punishing him. So he felt as he was moving in the boat, he has kept a destiny where he has to reach. When he had thought about his destiny, where he has to reach, ultimately when he went to the middle of the lake, he saw the peak, a beautiful peak on other time became huge in stature, and it horrified him. It made him to turn the boat back to the willow tree and tied it there only. And on later days, he felt that whatever he used to see, the nature was very angry with him, and whatever beautiful things, the sky, the stars, the river, the trees, everything looked very horrified. Everything looked black and white. So what he has told, if you are guilty in your childhood, if you are guilty about something, when you know that this thing, whatever you are doing is wrong, and you feel that it is when you feel that it is wrong, that is called a guilty consciousness. This guilty consciousness gave him so much of knowledge in his when he became young, and he did so many things accordingly, taking the knowledge from this nature. So we'll just go through the questions and I'll answer, and these questions and answers are just for your reference purpose. I will give you the PDF form of the same. Who does her in the first line refer to? Question number 1, comprehensive question. Question number 1, who does her in the first line refer to? The word her refers to the boat the poet found one summer evening. Where was the boat moved? The boat was moved to a willow tree. What does home in the third line refers to? What does home in the third line refers to? The home in the third line refers to the rocky cave that the boat is usually tied to. What does her in the line 4 refers to? What does her in the line 4 refers to? Her in line 4 refers to the boat. Why does the poet use words like home and her while talking about the inanimate boat? The poet is very attached to the boat and looks at it as a human being and a friend. The poet is very attached to the boat and looks at the boat as it is a human being and his friend. What stealthy act does the boy commit? What stealthy act? Stealing. What stealthy act does the boy commit? The boy unloosens the boat chains, steps into it, and pushes the boat from the shore. That was then stealthy act. What sound is captured in line 6 and 7? What sound is captured in line 6 and 7? There is absolute silence around except the sound of the boat on the water is echoed by the mountains as the boat moved on. There is absolute silence around except the sound of the boat on the water is echoed by the mountains as the boat moved on. What visual pictures are created in line 8 and 10? What visual pictures are created in the line 8 and 10? As the boat moved on, it made small glittering circles. in the moonlight until it melted into a single track of gleaming light. As the boat moved on, it made small glittering circles in the moonlight until it melted into a single track of gleaming light. What does they in the 10th line refers to? They refers to the small circles created by boat as it moved on the water. They refers to the small circles created by the boat as it moved on the water. How many peaks are mentioned in the poem? Which one is bigger? 2 peaks are mentioned in the poem. One is craggy, very far near the horizon, and another was a huge peak, black and huge. The second peak was bigger. What is the boat compared to in line 19 and 20? What is the boat compared in line 19 and 20? In line 19 and 20, the boat is compared to swan would go heaving in the water. The purpose of the comparison is, their options are given here. The purpose of the comparison is to highlight the grace and the beauty of the swan, to highlight the beauty of the boat, to highlight the graceful movement of the boat. The answer is to highlight the graceful movement of the boat. In the expression troubled pleasure in line 6, what pleasurable experience of the narrator does pleasure refer to? What pleasurable experience of the narrator does pleasure refers to? The answer is the pleasure of rowing the boat with no noise is a pleasure to the poet. The pleasure of rowing the boat with no noise is a pleasure of the poet. B. The narrator is troubled because, options are given here. His conscience pricks him on his stealthy act. Second, the pleasure is short-lived. Third, he is scared of his stealthy act being found out. Answer, his conscience pricks him on his stealthy act. His conscience pricks him on his stealthy act. Question number 13. Read lines 21 to 26. Draw a picture of the black and huge peak. The black and huge peak don't draw by hand. Draw means you have to explain how it looks like. The black and huge peak is large and very black. Okay, the black, large and very black. It is nearer to the poet's boat. It is larger than the peak. It is larger than the peak which is behind the craggy peak. Which is behind the craggy peak. Pick out the details of the peak that is fearful to the boy. Pick out the details of the peak that is fearful to the boy. Answer, the peak was huge, black and threatening. The peak was huge, black and threatening. He felt that it was growing in stature. He felt it was growing in stature involuntarily between him and the stars. Between him and the stars. See, the lines refer to the movement of the peak. It is real or imagined by the boy. The lines refer to the movement of the peak. It is real or imaginary by the boy. The movement of the peak is imagined by the boy. He was imagining that. It was imagined by the boy. He feels that threatening. He feels that the threatening peak is following him. The threatening peak is following him in a steady and measured motion like a living thing. In a steady and measured motion like a living thing. In the boy's imagination, the moment is, options are given here, threatening and menacing, lively and graceful, friendly and inviting. Answer is threatening and menacing. 14. In the phrase trembling oars, who is trembling? It is the boy who was trembling. It is the boy who was trembling. Name the figure of speech in this expression. The figure of speech refers here is the transferred epithet. Transferred epithet is the figure of speech here. Trembling oars is the figure of speech. Transferred epithet. See, the boy is trembling because he is frightened by the approaching peak. Options are given here. He is frightened by the approaching peak of his guilty conscience sea of coal. The answer is he is frightened by the approaching peak. He was frightened by the approaching peak. 15th. The episode of the stolen boat ends with the boy leaving the boat back to the mooring place. Lines 32. The remaining lines of the poem, line 32 to 34, deals with, what does it deal with? You have to answer. The lasting memory of the actual experience. You have to choose from these options. The lasting memory of the actual experience, details not connected with the actual experience, the mysterious shapes and images haunting him. The mysterious shapes and images haunting him. The answer is the mysterious shapes and images haunting him. Question number 16. Wordsworth defined poetry as emotional, recollected and tranquility. What dominant emotion of the boat experience is reflected in the poem? Wordsworth was a young boy when he took the boat from where it was tied to a willow tree. He went rowing on the quiet lake. He was scared and excited. He was scared as well as he was excited. Scared because he did not take the permission to take the boat. He felt guilty that he took the boat. He had taken the boat without anyone's consent by untying the boat and rowing down to the lake. This made all nature look threatening for him, which made him return the boat to its original place and quietly go away from there. He had felt he had stolen the boat. He had felt he had stolen the boat. So nature was threatening him. That is why he moved the boat back to the willow tree and went away quietly. Many days after the stolen boat experience, the narrator was hunted by a mysterious presence within him. Pick out details of the mysterious presence from 37 to 44 line. Answer. Many days after the stolen boat experience, the narrator felt strange images in his mind. Though it was not real, he was hunted by many things. He felt everything was dark. And he was lonely with some mysterious presence which he could not get out of. The images of nature was not pleasant. The trees, the sky, the sea and fields were colorless. They were large, mighty forms like living people moving in his mind day and night without allowing him to sleep in the night. So this was the expression, mysterious presence in his mind. Read the following extract carefully. Discuss in pair and write the answers to questions given below. She was an elfin pinnace. What does she refer to? She refers to the boat taken by the poet for a jolly ride. What is the figure of speech used here? The figure of speech used here is personification. What does elfin means? Elfin means fairy-like. What is the figure of speech elfin pinnace? Elfin pinnace is the metaphor. What quality in the movement of the boat is highlighted in the comparison? The graceful movement of the boat is highlighted in the comparison. With trembling oars I returned. Second question. With trembling oars I returned, and through the silent waters stole my way back to the covert of the willow tree. What is the figure of speech used in the first line? What is the figure of speech used in the first line? With the trembling oar I turned. I already told it. The figure of speech used here in the first line is a transferred epithet. What made the boy tremble? The threatening mountain peak, which was huge and black, growing in nature. The grim shape came between the little boy and the stars, made him tremble. What does the boy want to do with the boat? What does the boy want to do with the boat? The boy turned the boat immediately and rowed it down to the silent river, tied it at the same place from where he had taken it stealthily. So, these are the answers for the questions in your textbook for The Stolen Boat, written by William Wordsworth. Read this poem and try to understand it. Not one time or two time reading is not enough, as I have told you before also. One time, two time reading is not enough. You need to work hard and you need to read, and especially underline the difficult words, and also find it in the dictionary. Write it in your fair book, so that if you don't understand, when you are if you don't get it, when you try to remember it, try to write it 10 times. The words are very important in English. So I hope you understood the poem, and also whatever I discussed now, the questions and answers. Why I discuss the questions and answers is because for your better understanding. Even if you don't understand while I am teaching, when I am teaching, you may be not understand that, but while answering the questions, it is very understandable. Okay, till my next class, take care of yourself, read and study well.